The Aggies had a spring game yesterday. And let me tell you what they did. They just decided to play on a 65-yard field because they had construction going on. Why? Because it's spring. Why not? They had far more to like in this one than the one last year. You remember the spring game last year? 98% of you say, no, not really. Well, it was very windy, very windy. And Jimbo just threw the ball anyway because it doesn't matter. And I took that to mean, oh, man, they're going to air it out this fall. And then the offense just was what it always had been. So anyway, yesterday, there was positives and negatives, but just my feel for the team is I feel a little bit better than I did this time last year. They had 77 pass plays between Wegman and Max Johnson. Ton of starters missing. So we're not going to draw definitives off of this game. But they lost A-Chain at running back, and yet in the aggregate, they're going to more than make up for it. Reuben Owens is there, Le'Veon Moss, Maury Daniels. They're going to be, I think, plenty good enough in the tailback room, plenty versatile enough. Evan Stewart at wide receiver, 7 catches, 97 yards. So anyone doubting him, don't. He's the real deal. Not surprisingly, we didn't see much offensively. And I was reading some of our buddies over on Texags. I think Nolan had written how some of the players had been talking in interviews leading up to the spring game about how much motion and deception they were seeing in practice and they were working on in practice. Motion, deception, motion, possible immunity. And then we saw none of it yesterday, and that's spring game 101 for you. So whatever they're going to be, I don't think you'll watch in weeks 1, 2, and 3 and then say, we saw it coming in the spring game. No, you saw some folks having a good time on a 65-yard field. That's what you saw in the spring game. But what we do have is a quarterback competition. Again, not a bad thing, but we got one again. Connor Wegman was 17 for 40 yesterday. Max Johnson was 21 of 37. My pen has come apart in my hands. Oh, I like this pen too, man. Oh, there we go. Got a quarterback competition here. This is kind of the same thing I said last year about these guys. It's not one where I think Jimbo's just trying to sell you on it so he can keep both guys. No, I really think it's a dead heat out there. When you look around, it doesn't take an NFL scout to turn on tape or turn on a YouTube condensed game of Texas A&M spring game and say, oh, they got really good players, don't they? And with some of them missing, I will say, I think they should be a notch more dynamic on the defensive front than they are and they were last year. That's not to say they were bad, but knowing who they've recruited, knowing who they have in that stable, should be elite. So let's keep an eye on them. I think they'll be active in the portal, or they will attempt to be. But this is, I said this about Texas last year. I'll say it about A&M this year. Probably the most interesting team in the country because they were sub 500, missed out on a bowl game last year, yet they've got double-digit win talent on the roster. They have got SEC West contending talent on the roster. If they underachieve with it, they underachieve with it. That's what makes them interesting. Every other team that missed out on a bowl game last year, you don't look at and say that about. It sure is an indictment. Yes, I hear what you're saying. It's an absolute indictment on last year, but it also makes you wonder, if they just do average this year, what would they be? And the answer is probably an 8 or 9 win team because that's how good they are talent-wise. So there's the goal, be average at least.